and welcome to Investigator News. And I'm your host, Ellie. And boy, happy Thursday. Already almost to the end of the week. And basically, first off, I thought this story was pretty great. Disney helps Shriners' children celebrate 100 years. Has it really been 100 years? Wow. Um, the Shriners and their healthcare organization for children and touching more lives than 1.5 million children. And they are going to do, let's see, Shriners Children has enlisted storytelling prowess of Disney and ABC to air a 30-minute special called Miracles, Magic, and Milestones. This will happen on Friday, September 16th. On ABC, they say you could also find it being streamed on Hulu. Basically, happy birthday to the Shriners and the children's hospitals. So we were just talking about them. So is hi there, Susan. So the Shriners are 100. It doesn't. Wow, it doesn't seem possible. I thought they started in the 50s, but when I read the article, it was like, wow, 100 years. So they will be doing a special on ABC tomorrow night. Let's see if it has a time. Uh, it doesn't say. I don't see a time on it. No, it just says it premieres September 16th on ABC and streaming on Hulu. So it's probably prime time hour, 7, 8 o'clock. So keep your eye out for it. And just if you want to pay a little respects to it, I bet they would enjoy the viewers because more than likely they're going to get paid for the viewers they bring in. So they're not paid, they're going to donate it. You know how that works. Um, so Zelensky, um, um, I reported on this. Oh goodness, a couple, probably in February, about them wearing swastika patches, um, and they're being caught again. And a lot of the news media is now asking, is that a Nazi insignia on their arm? And that's our mainstream media. And so now they're back to, I guess, wearing it. And they said the insignia resembles a Nazi Germany unit that was that used it in World War II. Um, and so not only that, but even some of the skull and crossbones are being used. Now, I just want to remind you that when I looked into the history of Ukraine, it seems that when um, the fallout from World War II, all the Germans went everywhere. And it mostly was Ukraine. And it was a lot of the SS officers and those that did some horrendous things to the Jewish people. They're starting to wear them again. Now they uh, wore different uniforms for a very long time, and now when I look at the picture, you can tell that it's back to the old uniforms with the it looks like a swastika on there. So wow, you'd think they would know better. You'd think they would know better. I guess not. You know, um, and why are we supporting them? If that's who they want to resemble. And now we know the um, Azov battalion. We know for a fact that they are claimed to be Nazi like skinheads in a way, but not quite. And they take up 50% of the military. So, Iranian hackers indicted for cyber attacks against the United States infrastructure, and the Justice Department caught them. Well, at least they're working, huh? There was 3 Iranian nationals for cyber attacks against several targets in the United States, including power companies, and a New Jersey township was affected. The attacks were part of a conspiracy to hack into hundreds of organizations across multiple countries. And basically, between last month through, they were going to do it through October. And according to a senior Justice Department official who spoke to reporters ahead of the indictment released Wednesday, the U.S. alleged that perpetrators were accused of targeting power companies, accounting firms, domestic violence shelters, construction companies, county governments in Wyoming and New Jersey, and um, um, electric companies throughout the eastern coast, among other victims. The three were charged, and their names were Manzoor Ahmadi, uh, boy, Katabi Aghada, and Amir Raveri. Boy, those are hard names. And they are Iran. They were in Iran, and the State Department is offering 10 million for information on locating them in Iran or if they have fled to another country. And they were acting, they said, on behalf of the Iranian government. And instead of indictment alleges, they were demanding to be paid themselves. So, however, the department also released joint cybersecurity advisory for Wednesday, and then extended it till Friday for cybersecurity and infrastructure security agencies. They are saying that they could attack Aus- Australia, Canada, UK governments, and also the United States once again. And the military force uh, has basically designated these three as a terrorist organization. So they're going to put more sanctions on Iran for this because even though they collected everything themselves, they were still saying they were doing it on behalf of Iran. So so if you lose your phone, you get a brownout, or your modem's not working right, or anything that they could hack, they will probably hack, probably phone service too. Um, Now this breaking rail union, they did reject the offer for economic disaster uh, that would cause 2 billion a year. And they said the union, International Associations with Machinists and Aerospace Workers, District 19, uh, the labor organizations were the ones that were negotiation to prevent a strike that would affect the rail system. Now, last night, Amtrak even said they were canceling all of their rides for at least a month or until they had this settled. The agreement, though, that they had started with has been rejected. And there's an advisory council established by the White House that increases the likelihood of a strike that could cripple the U.S. economy. Now, I heard that it's been worked out this morning, but that doesn't mean it's going to be something that's final and put on the table. We're just going to have to wait and see. Um, And this one's, folks, I've seen, we've seen everything with Joe Biden, and everything from little girls sniffing to wanting to touch on them, and this one is a little different because it includes a politician, Gretchen Whitmer. She is a Democrat from Michigan, and they were at the auto show, and he reaches down and grabs her hand and holds hands with her, and is walking around, and Jill's right there in front of him. And it's weird looking. It was almost like he thought she was Jill, and so he grabbed up her hand like he normally does and walks away. Well, but he did it to Whitmer. um, it's a politician, not even his wife, and she's a governor. She's the governor. So I don't know. No one knows if he mistook her for Jill, or if he just was going to hold hands with her for a little bit. So, but he's weird. I wish I would have put this on my other screen so you guys could see it, but it's out there, all over the news this morning. I don't know if the news people are going to tell anybody about it, but it's out there on the news on YouTube. Um, and the CNN was the one that got it, and they thought that was really weird. And they said, yeah, he's kind of old, and it's just a silly thing. Well, yeah, can you imagine if Trump would have grabbed some girl's hand and started walking with her? Yeah, well, Melania probably would have beat her up, and then the media would have went crazy about it for decades, you know. So, all right, so, um, okay. A judge makes a decision in the regard to Hunter Biden that raises more questions. And I believe it is a Obama judge. I think that's who he got. I could be wrong. Um, and we're seeing that he had a gun quite a few years ago. It was obtained back in 2018, which then was, he said it was his girlfriend's brother's widow, and they threw it away at the trash by a school of all things. The gun was then recovered, and they were telling him, why didn't he just, where he lived, why didn't he just take it home and store it somewhere? He didn't need to throw it in the bathroom, or yeah, throw it away. And it looked like the Secret Service may have intervened on behalf of Hunter Biden. And there was a question of a 4473 from that Hunter Biden had filled out in order to buy a gun, where he declared that it was not unlawful user or addicted to marijuana, any antidepressants, narcotics, or any other controlled substance. He's supposed to fill that out. And so he lied. Um, and they said that in a ruling on Tuesday, the district court judge, could, Contarius, uh, held that while the public interest was significant, Hunter Biden's privacy interest as a private person was remarkably strong. And she made this finding despite that Hunter is Joe Biden's son and has done numerous interviews and even wrote a book about the struggles with his drugs. And the discussion of the drugs problems and his memoir basically did not diminish the privacy interest of the records. Disclosure would reveal that Hunter Biden was criminally investigated by ATF, the judge wrote. An individual public disclosure information that could be potentially incriminating. In a general sense, it does not reduce his privacy interest in whether he was a subject to a particular federal crime investigated by a particular agency. And it's fascinating how they're listing him as to a privacy, but the FBI is leaking all over the place when it comes to Donald Trump or any other thing that they want to get out to the media. And we saw the leaked reports about alleged nuclear document, right? Well, we haven't even heard about that. Yeah, we haven't heard about that. But this judge is questioning the fact that Hunter Biden was who he was, where he had been, and how much drugs he had him on the time. So, all right, we're going to move on. Boy, I might get done early today, like yesterday. The FBI hired Trump, a P-tape liar, as an informant to hide him from us. So, what? A special counsel investigating the Russian collusion hoax alleges that a court filing that had a main source for the fake Steele dossier. and it's for intelligence surveillance and a spy. And he himself was a paid informant. So this wasn't just the whistleblower that came out. They're now finding out in the documents that this was a paid informant to come forward and lie. So you remember the one they tried to Adam Schiff tried to hide? I wonder if he was even paid. I kind of wonder if that's even who this was, because they're not really saying who this was. They're just saying it was. Now I know that Igor, what was his name? Danchenko. Uh, Now he was investigated for being a Russian spy. Now he was likely probably a spy or an agent. But according to Hillary Clinton, though, um, this operative who worked with him and who will testify at Danchenko's trial, more on the Delta Bravo. Basically, what they're a lot of these. Why do they name them? Won't they just keep them all the same? Because they had like the Steele dossier, and then they had the PP report, and then they had the Russian collusion, and then they had, I believe, what they're calling Delta Bravo, uh, and then of course all these names for all these little secret spy missions that they go on. Why don't they just say it's a spy mission and it's for who and who it's from and who it is and when the date is? Talking to their little watch, uh, the dossier. So what they're finding out is through the Brookings Institute, um, that they're waiting for the Democrat administrations and certain things they had filled out uh, to see if they uh, spun a spin machine, is what this says, or um, if they're going to start pulling in the same people that they used for the impeachment for this, like Fiona Hill, and there was quite a few others. Um, so as in 2008, as part of the spy duties, Danchenko is alleged to have offered bribes to Brookings College, who worked with the Obama administration in exchange for information. So Danchenko goes all the way back to the Obama administration, and according to what some of these documents are starting to claim, is he was even doing spy missions for the Obama administration. But we're looking at basically the same one, less Comey and a few others. And eventually, um, it seems that when Danchenko did a lot during the Obama administration, they eventually hired him to become a spy. And then this other guy, they're not saying who it is. Now, the paid informant that ended up being a spy, I'm thinking it's Miss Food. And you don't hear that name very often. And if you don't know who Miss Food is, um, he was one that tried to entrap Donald Trump Jr. He also was speaking to all the players. He even, oh, what's his name? Quite a few that had been arrested. He was wanted to hang out with Manafort. McCabe, he was trying to get in touch with McCabe for a while. So this guy here, um, Miss Food, I'm thinking that's who it is. And because he's dead, they can't, or I don't know. His lawyer says he's dead, but the United States and the Department of Justice never did get anything like a death certificate, or they're just going on the word of his lawyers. Now he gave his lawyers this great big uh, statement, and so I'm not sure if now we heard that William Barr was supposed to be in had it, but I'm not sure what had happened to it. Now, I might go and check with Tom Fenton to find out if we got a statement from him, because he was one of the biggest spies in everything that happened with Donald Trump. And they're saying even beforehand, he was trying to get into Donald Trump administration realm, just as like, just kind of tagging along to be like a little buddy to somebody. And then come to find out, then when they started trying to take Donald Trump down, and they had, this was, Miss Food was one of the biggest ones that they had meet at the hotel with Donald Trump Jr. when they were telling him they would help him on adopting kids, because that was something him and his wife was interested in, to help some of the uh, some of the kids that are international kids, I think is how they stated it. Because I'm going on memory, folks. So, but I know this one good. And then they said even Hillary Clinton had paid. They found payments from Hillary Clinton and her foundation, the Bill and Hillary Clinton Foundation, the one they froze the assets on, and they found payments that went to Miss Food. So that's who I'm thinking, this silent whistleblower that was a paid informant, because they were paying him. That I do know. So in between Danchenko, that's going to be going to court or hearing or go before the judge in about a week. If you know, if Miss Food isn't dead, somebody ought to turn him in so we can find out exactly what part of the whole dossier and everything that happened. And then, I think they are, and then I've got a little bit of info that they're looking for something at Mar-a-Lago, or they were, that had to do with some evidence they had against the DNC and Hillary Clinton uh, on this whole Durham investigation. So, wow. Boy, what a long one. But boy, if you don't know all the stuff, you could just really get lost in this. You know how the Democrats always create this chaos, and they're over here, and then if they're gonna do something to get somebody, it's like they go at someone like 30 different ways. They've done this for years, and so you're looking all over for the one person that has something to do with it, and find out there's 20. Because remember Mueller? He said, oh, he had those rough Russians that were going to turn the whole case around, and they were going to get Donald Trump. And there was like four Russians, and there was a men and a woman. Well, the woman didn't even have nothing to do with them, and she ended up going to court and suing the DOJ and the FBI because of false accusations. And these were just guys that, just Russians. And this woman, I know she held a government office, but she wasn't no spy. But you never heard about it. After Mueller had him arrested, he put him up on a press conference, and then nothing after that. So, um, hopefully I can give you guys a little bit, because it looks like Durham is starting to speed up a little bit, or increase of some of these, um, uh, the administration that actually had done wrong. So as we go, I could give you info on whoever they charge as we get closer to Durham getting all of this exposed. So, all right. Boy, what a long one there. I feel long-winded. Um, so, and I lost my place. Um, okay, well, I'm just going to go on to this one then. I can't remember where I was. All right, so we're now looking at, oh boy, the wind farms. Here we go again. Just, it's like the EV cars. Now it's the wind farms. And they're getting a lot of backlash now because of economic woes, they say. Um, and not only that, but the study released, which was updated in May, and this should have came out. It said that the wind only provides 8% of electricity for a nation's homes, and that 7% um, that it's only sustaining at this point. If you think of a state like Michigan, um, there's only 7% of it that is actually the wind generators. And why? Because they don't have enough money to put into it. Now, these are very expensive, and it's so much cheaper to run, they say, natural gas or nuclear, um, the nuclear plants. Um, and boy, we got both Lindas in here today. So the thing is they're saying now, and these are the experts for the economists that are on the Biden side, that um, these aren't feasible. And by the time they get enough of them up, now get this, which states are we willing to give up? I mean, whole states. They need 5 of them for the wind the wind generators and the solar panels. So 5, and they said they need at least 2 that could equal the size of Texas. So the size of Texas plus 2 more that will equal that size, plus 2 more states. They said, like Nevada, or they could even use California. But that means clearing everybody out and putting just nothing but from border to border to border of these solar panels and wind generators. So they need 5 states. So where are they going to put all the people since they want to open up our borders? And they said this is where it's considered not feasible, because there is no way. And not only that, they would have to line um, from the tippy top of the United States that goes from the Pacific all the way around the states to the Gulf, all the way to the East Atlantic. And it would be so many wind generators, so many spaced apart all the way around. So then, okay, they need the 5 states, plus they want all of our beaches to put up wind generators. So when you go to the beach, you're going to be looking at a big fan in the ocean. I don't know why they want to do this, but that's what it's going to take. And no one ever questioned them on this. No one ever let them know that it's already been proven. They said they even put this through to Bernie Sanders in 2016. And even before then, that not only do these devices have an impact on landscape, they wanted to know what they were doing with all the dead birds that are laying underneath the ones they have. They said in some places there's hundreds, some places almost 1,000 dead birds laying underneath these fans or these wind generators. And no one's going out there to pick them up. They're just leaving them there. So if they're not going to pick up the dead birds, he says, who is going to service these devices? And they said they're very expensive, and it means not even dealing with the CO2. They said the solar panels nor the wind generators have they shown them any data that would say it's going to do something to help with the CO2. And they're thinking this is a farce. And so they said the MISO, they said, and they have respect for Obama, and the Clean Power Plan was an idea, but it's not going to reduce the CO2 emissions, and it's not going to with the solar panels. That's not going to do anything for what? How does that? I like his question. He says, if we are so concerned about the polluting factors of the fossil fuel cars, and we're going to do away with the cars, then we still have fossil fuel pollution in China, India, and parts of and leading parts of the Western United States. And since we have already put things in place and we have cut the driving down, the CO2 has stayed the same in the United States. It hasn't gotten any better. So how is, so his question was, uh, how is switching off of fuel and coal and natural gas and putting it into nuclear and solar, this is not going to do anything to the pollution. Nothing. And that this is now becoming a very bad waste of money. He says, but he has not been able to come forward and speak due to this was only it was a Minnesota-based Center for American Experience Study, the CAE, and they were very upset that the Biden administration didn't wait until they got all the data on it and looked at their data and decided whether or not they were going to push us at 2020 to go with the Green New Deal. And they said even the ice cores are looking fine. So they duped us. And they're still duping us. That's why I won't get an electric car. If I'm going to get a car, it's going to be the Jetsons flying car. I want the flying car before I want the EV thing that rolls on the ground. Yeah, me and Linda, and Susan. You know, if there was another one, it'd be Linda. Oh boy, well that'd be a mouthful. I say we get these electric um, planes, the cars. Yep, yeah, we'd be cruising. We'd be cruising. Um, the national security threat with China's, uh, they are now considering China being buying up all this farmland, buying up all these different places. Not only that, pretty much have bought out most of the colleges. Um, and we know what their tactics are. We know what they're going to do. We know that they, we know about the malware with TikTok, and they, in fact, they had a hearing. It was the hearing. The feds are going after TikTok, YouTube, yep, and Twitter, and they want to know why they're singling out their own. Um, some are paying customers, some aren't, of why they're going after these people with no U.S. defense intelligence or any type of policies uh, that would uh, even go after China for doing this. So we're sitting back, or the Bidens are, they're sitting back and they're letting them, they even let them bring in 5G networking, even though it was against even William Barr. And then, we had Ackerson and Sony, I believe, that was saying they would partner and they would do all the 5G here. But you know what? They went off and they did it for China. And so all the surveillance, all of the cyber, they say espionage, that they're doing over here, and all the data and everything that they should be getting, they're not. They're turning their backs and they're ignoring it. Now the Department of Defense and the State Department, the ones that are good, they're wanting to know why they are being banned from even looking into this. And even the Department of Homeland Security has been trying to use the good FBI and U.S. military and local police to be the eyes in the skies during how they move around and what they're buying, because we can't depend on our own government to use FBI spies or CIA spies to go after these guys. So, or go after Chinese government. And they now, we know, have companies over here, such as Huawei and Hikvision. They make artificial intelligence systems and facial recognition. And the Uyghurs are doing forced labor on that one. And of course, we know they're doing it. And of course, we're still buying everything that the poor Uyghurs are in slave working conditions for it. How are they buying the colleges? Well, they they come in and they do all the funding so that the United States won't have to fund these, do grants or fund them, because so much goes to like um, the colleges or the schools. Let's say it was like a high school, they get so much funding from the federal government. So does the colleges. Okay, so the colleges get an X amount of dollars for each of these colleges. Well, if a private owner wants to come in and buy out the colleges, they can. And then that way it saves taxpayer money that they're using for us to cover the college, uh, some of the staff and some of the stuff that needs to be covered, so that the government would have. And that's what China has done. They first started with putting professors and teachers in the colleges like this, and then eventually they started buying some of them up. I think they own three here. It's not very many, but then when you have all of those professors that are in charge, because where they don't have, where they didn't buy into the colleges, they have a lot of the professors that are from China or willing to do China propaganda or China learning. And then what they do is after they do that, then when they turn in all their reports and to the professor, all of their studies and all of the things that they have looked into and investigated, all of that info is sold to China or given to China. And that's where they're getting a lot of information out of the college. Not only that, but then they get the kids to agree to the CRT, and for the ones that are pushing forward to become teachers. And not only that, then they have them um, uh, grooming the students to do protests. So this is where the protests come from. And not only that, but they're atheists too. So they're trying to take the religion out of the schools at the college levels. Um, that's the other thing they're doing. So I hope that answered your question. So they're in our colleges, and they're in our farmlands. And a lot of people wouldn't know it, but when we see a harvest next year, some of it could be stuff that China grew. We right now, they I think the feds know definitely which farms they own, but they're still running quite a few farmers out just so China can get in there and buy up these pieces of land, buying up the colleges, buying up businesses. A lot of businesses are buying. That's just, the thing about it is that's what we've seen here, and I hate to sound like a broken record with you guys, but they were buying up China restaurants here in Arkansas when they first started coming through. We started seeing a lot of people from China, and next thing we know, at least, uh, uh, I'm gonna say a good chunk of all the new businesses, as far as restaurants went, were all owned by China restaurants, Chinese food, and even Japanese. And guess what? They even own the Taco Bell, quite a few Taco Bells here. Um, so they're buying businesses, they're moving in, they're buying farms, they're loading into colleges, and of course we have three colleges here, so it makes sense. We see a lot of people from China here in Arkansas. So, all right, moving onward. Um, and this one here, folks, this one, I had to read this for a while this morning. I just wanted to go over it a little bit before I read it to you guys, because experts are testifying before Congress on Tuesdays. The Communist Party of China has extensively expanded its digital capabilities and sensors, and they want to effectively erase or do away with any type of religion that's on the internet that they're in control of. Uh, That's the latest step in the process of enforcing communism. And through eradication of faith that the regime refers to as sanctinization. And Chinese officials describe it as a process to force religious to conform to Chinese culture. If not, then they'll be put in a form of prison. So they're going after the religion now and people in religious churches. And I think what they're going to do is they're going to do just like they did the colleges. They're going to send out quite a few little feeders, to keep an eye on everything, and then they can go back and I think they're going to try to take down the churches. Now, me and Williams talked about this. I wish he was in here today uh, because he could probably tell you a lot more um, on what they're doing. And what they're calling it is syncretization. And it's meant forcing religious leaders to promote communist propaganda in replace of their faith and worship. They said they've been able to, and Jinping strongly approves of this. And he says it's the control of religion in China throughout the digital world. And he said that he wants to implement a law this year that will outlaw religious content online. Now, if you do, you guys remember? I don't know if the Lindas and Susan know about this. You remember when China took over the internet? I don't know if you guys knew. This was um, I'm going to say about 8, 9 years ago. And we were trying to figure out how to regulate the internet because everybody was all over the place on the internet. And they wanted to bring it together and make it more informed. And so they had to have someone that was going to control the internet. Well, we were pushing for us, and we were going to bring in, I believe, 3G at that time. And uh, it was going really well that the United States, but then China stepped forward and said they wanted to do it. And they started more and more using really bad propaganda to go after um, anybody that wanted to take over the internet. So what they ended up doing is they did it in the middle of the night. And see what's weird is our Congress does that now too. They'll push it to the middle of the night, and then no one's not paying attention, and they could just grab it. Well, that's what China did, and they took control of our internet. So when it comes to our internet, they have top dogs for it, and China is the one that got the place for it. And now I haven't seen anything they've really done until now, this article. So they want to have religious leaders push more universal oneness, we can't be mean to the Japanese and, of course, the Haitians or what about the people that come over from uh, Sweden or Norway or any of those countries. We need to be fair and listen to what they want. But then now we need to have China uh, anti-religion that needs to be brought in. And I've heard pastors say that this is a way to bring the Antichrist in. Now I'm not sure about that, but it is a way to get the Luciferians accepted, which they have. Um, so Yeah, well, that's what they do, though, Linda. I mean, just like they did to Africa. Heck, we might end up on that for most of the hour because that's what they did to Africa. They said, "Hey, Belt and Road Initiative, let us come in and help you out. We'll help your money issues. We'll help the starvation issues." And they moved in and they just took over. They've got their gold mines. They got part of the diamond mines. They're almost in control of the cobalt mines. Of course, any railway that's in Africa, they own. They own the schools, the colleges. They're taking over the farming communities now. They're putting all the solar and wind generators in. Everything is paid for. And of course, then they owe China and then they will work for China. But they have done it slowly, and that's what they're doing in the United States. I mean, putting up a farm right next to a military installation. Um, Obama was for all that. Obama was more for the Muslims, though. Obama brought a heck of a lot of Muslims in. And, they were peaceful Muslims, of course. And UK warned Obama not to do it, but he did it anyway. And uh, he started pushing them over and that's how Dearborn, Michigan happened. And if you noticed, Obama always had the Muslim curtain behind him. He never really did the American flag much. It was always the Muslim colors, the Muslim curtain, and thank goodness he didn't have the flag. I would have been bad upset over that. And so he was more of getting the Muslims into the country. And then we had caught, oh my goodness, this is so far back. We had caught the Muslims in trying to group up and take over, kind of like what China's doing right now, to where they would infiltrate the schools and the churches and different things and pushing their agenda that we live more like they did. And so Obama brought in the Muslims. Now, then towards the end of the Obama era, what the last couple of years, then we started seeing the influx of from everywhere. And I think it was only just to hide China moving in, because then we started seeing China. A lot of businesses starting up by China, and then we start hearing the rest of it, them buying into the colleges, becoming uh, professors. We've caught them spying out of the colleges, and we've hit quite a few of them up for it. Uh, so it was the Muslims, and then now it's China, and we're of course we're all racist because we won't accept them. I never said I didn't accept them. I'll take all the good ones you want to send, but if they're not going to go and get their citizenship and pay to get it and do it right, then they don't need to be here. And definitely, they do not need to be in the colleges, and they do not need to own farms here or property. And that's what who was it, Dosey? And I think Tom Cotton and a few of them has been going after him, saying, "Why do you need to do this?" And asking them why they haven't done nothing, and even questioned Kirby on what was he going to do about it. And he said, "Well, that's not what he say. He don't swim in that water, so he's not going to do anything, and it's just going to let the China come in and buy up whatever they want." And so I believe it's housing they're looking at, like whole subdivisions. They're looking into major grocery stores. They're anything that they could have a control issue over. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see them owning a lot of Walmarts. That seems like their cup of tea right there. So um, we were talking drones last night. A Navy drone ship. Remember, I told you they're ships, is captured by Iran um, uh, during the Fifth Fleet encounter. It says, and what it was is they Iran, when they see a ship, they'll swarm on it, and then they take it over. Well, it ended up being a drone ship. So now we know that they have definitely going to swarm the drones in the water, which now they may have gotten one of the drones, but there's not much they can do with it, according to uh, the Navy. But that doesn't mean they're not going to swarm one of our naval ships. And they've done it. Yemen did it when the um, the Carl Vincent naval group was down around Yemen and all that by the strait. And when they got the smaller boats out under patrol, um, uh, Iran and Yemen basically stormed in and was going to take the ship down. And then they started firing weapons at them. Um, oh, yeah. I agree with you there, because, I mean, look at all the pastors that are just, they went for the Black Lives Matter, which I didn't understand that one. Boy, I went after my churches for it. And then they were all about letting, like I said, international all the different colors, and every nationality was going to be in the churches, and then all of a sudden you started seeing China again. So um, and then we had, guess what? Another Putin ally suffered suffocating. He was found suffocated. To me, I think they're killing these guys more likely, because this is, I think, going up to 14 or 15. And they said that um, he died of a stroke while on a business trip, and then of course it led to a heart attack. And his name was Vladimir Sungorkin, and so he is the newest one. And they said there is still quite a few more. It's like the Trump administration. If he knows 100 people that worked with him, and it's like slowly, but a lot of these are bankers, so it doesn't, Um, I don't know if they're going after the banking system or if they're just going after Putin himself. But a lot of this don't make any sense for them to keep killing off advisors for Putin, because a lot of them have retired, like they said, like 8, 9 years ago, and they're still going after them, and they're still trying to get them. So, all right. Uh, what happened over the skies in Ukraine? Now, I really wanted to get to this one. I was hoping we wouldn't run out of time. Now, it's these pin lights, or lights. They almost look like street lights that are up in the clouds, but they have a white light, like a beam that goes down. Well, then, according to witnesses that I'm telling you what I learned from my sources over there, the reporters. They said that you seen the beams coming down, and then they went back up, and then it was like the sky turned blues and greens, like um, what you see with the aurora borealis over there in Alaska. It kind of was swirling around like that, but then there was like these. Um, they were saying these bright green looking triangles that were flying all over the place, and then it would go dark, and then it would go back to these lights again. And they said this is either a form of 4G or 5G, 6G. I think they're up to 8G of holograms in the skies, is what I'm thinking this was, to see if they can get people to believe it's real. But we can put holograms in the skies. We could put anything we want up there. But they're saying it's UFOs, and they say it's very cosmic. And they said it was over the skies of Kiev, and they were swarming with unidentified flying objects, according to quite a few news reports. Um, and they said that they were very, very surprised when Ukraine was televising it. And let me see, it was in Yahoo. So it was Yahoo, and I think RT had it this morning. I think Politico had it. And everyone shows a little bit of the white lights and then the color lights. And it's very odd. So if you guys want to, there it is right there. So if you guys want to take a look at what these things look like, it was really, I still think it's odd that they had all these lights, and then the beams came down, and then that was for a while, and then it went up, and it was like the northern lights, but then it had these dark or fluorescent green to dark looking planes that were flying all over that same area, and then it would go right back to the lights again. So wow, so it's a cosmic and a phantom, they say, of UFOs all over the Ukraine skies. And the thing about it, it wasn't just the locals that reported; it was the governments that are reporting these. It's anybody that had any political pull, and even some of the generals were turning these lights over to be investigated. So yeah, I wonder if they're going to put that on ATIP, if ATIP's going to look into it and claim, yeah, here's another one, or if they're just going to leave it be. So boy, Um, Um, now, Linda, here's another thing. We're talking with China. Now, they are hiring. Um, we know the IRS is going to hire a whole bunch of IRS agencies. Well, they took in the first, they said 2 batches, and now they are recruiting and educating and also helping them fill out their applications is China. They're thinking these are a lot of the spies. So now we got China that might be working for the IRS. So that's yeah, they just don't quit. They just don't. They just don't quit. Now, if you're in California, Gavin Newsom, you're going to be getting your inflation relief checks. Right? He wants to get them to you before November. So expect that on its way, he says, as of Monday. So, um, okay, well hey, there's William. William, China's doing all kinds of stuff. Oh, Linda, do you remember what it was? I wanted, uh, let's see. It had to be either the hackers or what we were talking about with China and the colleges. Um, they had Iranian hackers that have been going after the infrastructures and uh, everything that's infrastructure, the bridges, the electric grids, everything. So we had that. And then not only that, it's still kind of creepy that we knew Joe Biden was holding hands with the governor of New York. I don't know. Um, so, and now on, I forgot almost before I close up, Dutch Sense has put out some warnings of maybe in between a 6.5 and maybe even up to an 8. Uh, William, it might be close to you because they're saying the top of Washington State all the way down to Shasta. They're even talking Mount St. Helens, that the earthquakes have started showing how Dutchens does it, the arrows, and the yellow arrows are all pointing at uh, pretty much the northern part of California. And Dutchens is saying even uh, his choice, well, his predictions is Shasta. So it might not even get as high as you, William. So, but boy, you missed the Bears this morning, William. We had some funny Bears, and we had some Bears up to no good, and then the drugs with the missing tiger. So, but you came in. How are they buying? How are they buying the colleges? Didn't we? Did the other Linda ask? Um, I'm going to tell you, kind of like I mentioned before, is it's kind of like the feds pretty much fund all the colleges and all the schooling through education programs, and so they get grants and they get all the funding for it, and it covers the teachers' pay, the schools, and all that. Well, now if somebody wants to come in and buy the college, they can. There's no stopping anybody from taking over and buying a college. And, all that does is, wipe the government's hands clean of having to come up with all that money to support it. And quite a few, I know of 3. I don't want to go any further than 3. I know there's at least a couple dozen, but I only know of 3. So because I don't want this to be propaganda and someone say, oh, no, no, you're wrong, you're wrong. So that's how they're doing it. And then they can control the colleges. They can hire the teachers to come in and teach whatever they want them to. So that's how they buy them. And it keeps the government out. The government really don't have to keep an eye or watch them. And then they can go on and push through uh, the race theory They can push anything. And even oh, I know what it was, William. It was the churches. They're sending the Chinese in to monitor what's going on in the churches and to help them bring in international religion. So that was the one. So did I answer your question, Linda? I thought the other Linda may have been. So did I get Linda on both of them? So, William, that's what it was. Is they're bringing in a group to start monitoring and not only being hired by the IRS, but then they're bringing another group in that's going to watch the churches. So, and start saying what the churches they got to be more internationally um, uh, an international church, which is the One World Church. They just gave it a different name. Uh, and they're going to be trying to talk the pastors into changing their tactics a little bit. So that's exactly what we were afraid of. So, all right, folks, that is it for today. And there, like I said, there's no show tonight, and we will. Okay, so I got. I think both Linda's asked about that. So. Um, So, I had to look into it too because I was going to raise some heck with them. Say, no, no, you ain't. Because we got 3 colleges here in Conway. And, I can't imagine China running any of these. We got Hendrix, we got Baptist, and we got UCA. And none of them, and UCA is getting really big. I doubt if Baptist College will end up with any type of China in there. And now Hendrix, I'm afraid that might go because um, uh, the boy, you remember Hanson Brothers? I think all 3 of them went here. Chelsea Clinton went here. I believe Romney and Kerry's sons went here. Jeb Bush, I think, during the early years. This is an old college. I mean, it looks like um, not a castle. It looks like a 1-story little old castle that maybe all the tops got pulled off. But it has got a stone fence all the way around it, and every so often you can stop and there's little plaques, the class of certain things, and I believe it goes all the way back to the 1800s here. And I'm afraid the Democrats will turn it over because that's pretty much where the Democrat and the wealthy, the rich, all their kids go here at this college here. Now the other ones, I don't think they'll turn as hard as Hendrix would. So, all right, folks, that is it. I'm going to get out of here, and I will see everyone in the morning. And it was a great show last night, William. We thank you. A great show and a lot of viewers on that. And if you missed it, go back and watch the World War III report last night. And if you missed this morning's morning weather show, had some great bears on there today. So with that, we will see you all tomorrow morning. And it will be Friday, finally the end of the week. Bring your donuts and coffee with you tomorrow morning. All right, folks, we will definitely see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.